Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We're still waiting for other participants. Am I audible? Okay. And we will start our program at 9 a.m. So before that, I would like to go through for a few points. Yeah, everyone, please switch off your microphone during the interactive session so that the program will run smoothly. And you also may submit questions throughout the session via the chat box, and we may address them from time to time. Each participant is eligible to receive an e-certificate, and the link will be shared 15 minutes before the session ends. And also, we will have our photo session at the end of today's event. Kindly ensure that you guys remain with us until the session ends. So we are still waiting for other participants before we can start at 9 a.m. Thank you.
So are we going to have any lecturers around here, Yella? So
So far, not yet. Maybe later on they will join. Yeah.
okay.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to everyone. Welcome to today's event, We Care Postgraduate Wellbeing and Growth Series. To everyone who is watching us on Zoom, and not to be forgotten, those who are watching us on Facebook Live, I wish you have a very good day. How are you doing? I hope everything is fine. Please keep safe and healthy. I'm Nurliana Abdurrahim, will be responsible for hosting today's event. To begin the ceremony with blessing from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, I would like to invite Lieutenant Muda Aiman Supawi to lead the dua recitation and a moment of silence. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ya Allah, we express our gratitude to you for allowing us to attend this webinar program Mental Health and Coping During Pandemic COVID-19 on this morning. Ya Allah, we ask you for the safety of our religion and the welfare of our body. O Allah, Lord of implementing authority, make the days that we have gone through starting with your mercy, continue with your blessing and end with the forgiveness. And also make the days that we have gone through with guidance and end with the victory of excellence. Ya Allah, Ya Muhammad, Ya Aziz, Ya Jabbar, let our effort as a means to enlighten and convince ourselves that the personal safety of either outer or inner is a prerequisite for achieving happiness and excellence in various fields. O Allah, grant us faith and strength in order to face the challenge of life during the transition period and in the face of life in this new millennium. Allahu Ya Karim Ya Rahim, Ya Allah, show us guidance and adjust our path and ways to achieve happiness and glory. Let us listen to people who like the good things. Let us avoid doing the bad and evil things. O Allah, bless our life in this meeting and gathering and prevent us from harm and unfortunate event. Rabbana alaika tawakkalna wa alaika anabna wa ilaikal masir. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Taqallahu minkum.
Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, Aiman, for the dua recitation. Dear audience, now let us warmly invite our Mr. President of Graduate Students Association, GSAUTHM, Mr. Muhammad Shahir Anwar Hamza, for his welcoming speech. Please welcome.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning everyone. Thank you our moderator Ms. Nuriana. First and foremost, on behalf of the Graduate Student Association and Center for Graduate Studies UTHM, I want to thank Dr. Zulfikar Ahmad for his pleasure on accepting our invitation to share his professional point of view in our today topics. So I hope this webinar session will be a right platform to clear up everything that's stressing out our mind. We GSA as a student society recognize the need for reliable and helpful mental health resources for our members. With this in mind, this webinar is one of the activities that we plan to help our students. Soon, more programs will be conducted by GSA, hoping that all students will give their support. Once again, thank you, Dr. Zulfikar, for being here in our webinar session. I hope we will have a great time with our speaker today. Thank you, and I pass again this floor to our moderator. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, before we begin, I would like to go through a few points that will require everyone's participation. Please switch off your microphone during the interactive session to enable a smooth flow of the session. And then you may submit your question throughout the session via the chat box, and we will address them from time to time. And each participant is eligible to receive an e-certificate, and the link will be shared 15 minutes before the session ends. And finally, we will have our photo session at the end of today's event. Kindly assure that you will remain with us until the session ends. We appreciate your cooperation. Alright, first and foremost, let me introduce you to our panel briefly. Dr. Zulfikar Ahmad is the Director of the Counseling Center, University Technology Malaysia, UTM. He attended University Islam Antarabangsa Malaysia (UIAM) and received his bachelor degree in Human Sciences in Psychology. Then he pursued his Master of Education, Guidance and Counseling, realizing that he wanted to learn more, so he pursued his PhD in Counseling Education at the UIAM and finally completed his study. Dr. Zulfikar began his career in 2001 as a psychologist by working as a psychology consultant at the Malaysian Psychology Centre in the field of corporate and family training for a year. On 3rd January 2005, Dr. Zulfikar began working at University Technology Malaysia as a consulting officer at the Counselling Centre and Career (UTM KL). Since 15 February 2018, Dr. Zulfikar has served as the director of the UTM Counselling Centre. Extensive experience presenting motivational talks and career guidance in school, as well as leadership and existing skill courses. Additionally, he was frequently invited to conduct corporate training sessions on communication, work motivation, team development, counter surveys, and quality surveys, industrial and organization psychology, parenting and child psychology, marital affairs and relationship, human development, Islamic psychology and counseling, and many more among his areas of expertise. Among the agencies and institutions that have retained his training service, in addition of UTM departments, are Higher Educational Leadership Academy (ARCADE), Jabatan Perkhidmatan Awam (JPA) Bahagian Pencen, Jabatan Kehakiman Syariah Malaysia, Bank Pembangunan, Suruhanjaya Perkhidmatan Pendidikan Malaysia, Effective Learning Management Sdn Bhd, Centre for Foundation Studies UIAM, and many more. For 1 year, he served as a panelist on IKIM FM, Ku Temui Jalan Pulang slot April 2009 to April 2010. In 2001, he wrote various columns for magazines like Nona, Mama Modern, Bintang Kecil, and Pa and Ma. He is currently a member of the reference panel for the Harian Metro, The Star, Cosmopolitan Magazine, RTM, TV3, and TV Al-Hijrah on subjects that require psychological perspective. He is currently member of Majlis Counseling dan Kerjaya Universiti Awam (MAKUMA) and also Committee on Public University Counseling and Career Development and UTM Human Resource Development Committee. Yeah, when the COVID-19 pandemic struck in Malaysia, he organized countless online mental health awareness and management session for students, staff, and general public. Additionally, it provides psychological help to both UTM community and also the general public. Dear participants, I am delighted and honored to welcome today's panelist, Dr. Zulfikar Ahmad. Doctor, how are you doing during the MCO? Where are you now? In
Uh,
KL or
yeah, I'm in JB actually. I'm in Skudai, while my family in KL.
So how are you doing in this MCO?
Well, I would say that I'm still on track. I'm keeping myself physically, psychologically, and mentally doing great, inshallah. That's a big challenge actually. It's a big challenge as a matter of fact.
Okay. So without delay our session, I think our today's session is more like interactive session, question and answer. Okay, so participants also can submit their question in the chat box as told earlier. So Doctor, without further delay, I would like to starting the session with our very first question. From psychological perspective, what is mental health and mental disorder? Because I realized that people, as me also, not have a very good understanding on these two things, with the mental health and also the mental illness. And then we usually maybe we misconception between these two things. So from your point of view, Doctor.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah amin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wa mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli, amma ba'd. First and foremost, thank you for the what call that, the invitations from the Graduate Students Associations of UTHM for inviting me today for this special occasions. I would say that it is a special occasions because it's not easy being in a what call that, on the stage of talking about mental health. Actually, I can see a big crowd here, in this Zoom, and Alhamdulillah. I just try to share things because I have to mention out that I'm not a clinical psychologist, no, psychiatrist myself. Okay, I'm just a psychology officer who are doing counseling, and then happened to be during this pandemic since last year. We've been promoting about the mental health, the psychological well-being of individuals, taking care, what call that, the main elements of among the main elements of humans, that is our mind, you know because there's a quote saying that getting a healthy body creates a healthy mind, so well, that was a long introductory about me. So I'm just a normal human being. I'm just a normal person. Most of it are past. Currently I just serve what I have to serve. Okay, because why? Um, this is the point that I was about to say. Talking about life, there's so many things you want to achieve. There's so many things you want to go for. That leads to our state of mind. You know, that is why, yeah, it's a good topic. So we want to talk about the mental status or the mental health of an individual, and I would agree with Liana. Publicly, there seems to be some sort of misconceptions or misunderstanding about what is mental health and what is the mental illness or mental disorder. One thing I would proudly say is that Malaysians, we open up to this issue in the recent years. Well, not as what we had in previously. I mean, I would say like about 20, 30 years ago, when anyone would to say or discuss about mental illness or mental issues, or any one of their family members who are having these kind of symptoms, they are reluctant, to come forward to actually admit there's something wrong. Okay, but in a few years back, we can see the promotions about the mental health, the understanding, the needs to know, the as a matter of fact, we can see Malaysians are volunteered enough. They're starting to be volunteers to be to assist. But what is mental health and what is mental illness or mental disorder? Now, I always give a very brief and a very easy understandings to people when we want to talk about this area. Like I say, I'm not a clinical psychologist, okay, but dealing with this kind of situation or this kind of issues for the past few years back, it enlightened me about these conditions. Now, mental health is refers to a state where someone is aware, in a state of aware about himself and his surrounding. If we want to put it in, if we want to translate in bahasa Melayu, it is tahap sedar seseorang. How do you aware about your surrounding? Okay, so in this state of mental health, if you are having a good state of mental health, means that you have the ability to decide about something. Okay, because you are aware about your surrounding. Okay, so tahap sedar seseorang. Okay, it is important. It's just like when you wake up early in the morning. Okay, there's a slight a moment where you like, is it morning or not? Oh, you see, and then you realize that the sun was there. Oh, okay, it's probably like 7 or 8 right now. So it means that you are aware. Okay, you can compute, you can, you can conclude about things that happens to you. Okay, so that is mental health. So if you were to like, let's say for example, you're going to a class, for example, you can simply ask yourself that this morning, am I having a good mental health or not this, today? If you were to think that, oh, I'm having a class later on at 8, means that your mental state is in a good conditions. Because why? Because you're aware that you're going to have class. You don't have to refer to your handphone saying that whether I'm having a class or not, kind of thing. Okay, that is mental health. So are you in a good shape of mental health, Lena?
Yes, I am aware. I'm a moderator for today's event.
That's great. That's great. This is great. Now, the second part is actually mental illness or mental disorder. What do we understand about this thing? Malay would always, if you translate to in Bahasa Melayu, most people use the word gila. Okay, in any clinical, there's no such thing as gila. Okay, there's no gila, there's no crazy things. Yeah, crazy people do crazy things lah. Okay, so that is not the definitions for the mental illness. Mental illness would refers to a state in which that person sane enough or not. Okay, so we know that insanity, so you want to know the word sane come from, we used to use the word insanity. Okay, so you are sane enough, eh? Or in Bahasa Melayu, we call it you waras atau tidak. Now, mental illness will always refers to how an individual functions appropriately. Okay, so when you say waras, means that are you functioning well? Do your routine, everything seems to be on track or not? Okay, do you have the ability to come up with a decision that will be on the mental health? But now is like you are in, like in Malay we say that macam terawang-awang. Am I okay or not? Am I okay or not? Am I okay or not? So this is where in which you have to that's a sign actually. When you are comfortable with yourself and then you start thinking about what happens to me, if you have that kind of questions to you, recently I can't sleep, recently I've been thinking about something, recently I've been traumatized with something, blah blah kind of things, and it prolongs. Okay, how it prolongs? It interrupts your routines. It interrupts your functioning. you know you become disrupted with your role or your function as a student, for example, as a individual, for example, a daughter, a son, kind of things, and it is prolonged. It's not like simply, let's say for example, the most common one, I can't sleep, and then simply they say that, oh, I'm having insomnia. You can't simply say that you're having insomnia just because of that is the final exam. During the final exam, your sleep pattern change, kind of thing, you are not in a state of mental disorder. Or sometimes, like, even someone would simply say that, oh, I'm having a depression. You can't simply label yourself of having depression, because depression is, it's included under the mental illness states. If you don't have the criteria, if you don't have the symptoms, you cannot simply say that, oh, I'm having this mental illness. No, it's not. And worse, if you are doing some self-diagnose, self-assessment, no, you cannot do that. It must be, when you say about mental illness or any mental disorder states, it must be diagnosed by professional. Who are these professionals? It's either clinical psychologist or psychiatrist. Obviously, it's a psychiatrist. Okay, so whether your state is in a mild state or probably worse, mental disorder are most likely more. Okay, it will be affects your routine and your physiology, kind of things, your inside, your mind. So I would use the word ABC for better understanding. What the ABC? There is affections, emotions. There's B is behavior, the tingkah laku, you react the way you react something. And C is the cognition. Okay, So these three elements, these 3 points, the focal point of you are having trouble with assessing your surrounding. Okay, inability to be in reality. That's another definition about mental illness. So when you say about the inability to be in reality, that's why I say you terawang-awangan, you are having delusions. Your mother is in front of you. Simply say that this is not my mother. My mother is at home. That will be in the case of schizophrenia. They're having the delusion, and sometimes you're having hallucination. You see things, you heard things. This is not about seeing ghosts. you know, you know. When we can never be too sure whether ghosts exist or not. Most people, they're afraid of a ghost. And when we assess, do you believe ghosts? Yes. Have you seen ghosts? Never. Can you describe ghosts? Yes. How would you describe something that you never see? So these kind of things. So nevertheless, that we have to differentiate. When we talk about the disorder, which one is considered as a belief system? Like I say about ghosts, you cannot simply say if someone seeing ghosts means that they are lunatics. They tak betul. No, you cannot say that. Because why? Because it is in a belief system. So you have to look through all these things. And I say it is not easy to talk about or to label or to diagnose someone of having mental illness or mental disorders, because that is impulse based. We look into the criterion books of what we call as the Diagnostic Statistical Manual for Mental Disorder. Now we have the fifth version. So it is important not to label yourself about having all these mental illness issues. You may feel, yes. You may experience, yes. Like during the pandemic time, okay, we cannot simply say, oh, I'm having depression. I've go through the statistics. Mostly the statistics from the question, the survey conducted by the GSA were mainly on I would say, paper and pen. Yeah, obviously now it was in Google form, if I'm not mistaken, right? It wasn't in paper. But then you answer it based on perceptions. I feel, I think. Okay, so don't simply label yourself just because you're having these symptoms. Reach out. If you feel that something wrong with me, reach out. To whom? You have this Pusat Kesihatan University. Go to your clinics. You have counselors. You got psychology officers back there. Meet them. Okay, don't simply stay in your rooms and simply whining yourself, oh, I'm having depressions, I can't reach out anyone else, I'm having this. But the true fact is, it is merely you it's merely perceiving. Okay, never conclude yourself of having mental disorder, even unless you meet professionals.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
yeah, I truly agree with Dr. Zul. Yeah, do not self-diagnose, guys. That is the most important word. Make sure being diagnosed by the professional and don't come to a conclusion. If you guys, maybe you guys just stressed with the assignments and do not just simply come to a conclusion that you are depressed, you are having anxiety, something like that. So doctor, maybe we can move to next questions.
yeah,
um,
sure.
yeah, your opinion on the statement psychological stress reaction shaped by thoughts, and
Mm,
also as related to what I mentioned earlier lah, because
mm.
you stress, you conclude you are, because stress of assignment, you conclude you are having stress, anxiety, and so on. And also the differences between stress, depression, and anxiety, the top three, yeah, this thing. Back to you, doctor.
Okay, yeah. These three conditions are mainly what do you call that? We conducting, we are, in any kind of situations. As for us, our practice in Pusat Counseling UTM and Pusat Kesihatan University of UTM, we're gonna give out the apa kata ujian sarjana kesihatan mental standard by KKM, what we call as a DAS, depression, anxiety, stress scale test. Okay, we want to see whether you are having depression, stress, or anxiety, and to which level. Is it like light, moderate, high, and very high, or very high? Okay, so because why? Because you can't simply say just because of the symptom that you experience. It must be, certain period of times, prolonged. Your physiology is telling you so. But yeah, like I said, and I agree with Dana, about safe labeling. That's the dangerous part, actually. Because why? As a normal human being, depression, stress, anxiety is considered as normal. But to which extent? That's the question. To which extent does the stress become abnormal or become a disorder? When do depression become a disorder? When do anxiety become a disorder? Now, as a normal human being, we experience all these things. For what reason? We experience all these things. Some of the reasons are uh, as a survival instinct, and secondly, it's about the defense mechanism, because why all these things is basically our emotions kind of thing, behavior kind of thing. It's actually is an emotional reactions, the way we react towards something, so it could be projected through our emotions. It could be projected through our behaviors. It's just that when you are happy, you will go find yourself like what do you call that, the fast food. You're treating yourself because why you're happy. So looking for all this, it's like you're treating yourself. Okay, you're rewarding yourself. You earn an achievement and then you went out. That is how you react. Okay, so do someone when someone in a state of sad, for example, you know how to react appropriately. Okay, so that is why we need all these emotions. This is why we need to experience all these things. Okay, it's not about some things that you would blame yourself because of in that kind of state. No. Okay, let's take for example stress. Why do we need stress? Do stress important? And what actually, I'm not welcoming stress, but now I'm having stress. Okay, so how would I learn how to live with it? And better off, how would I mix friend with stress? Lagi. Kan? Can we be friend with stress? Yeah, obviously. Okay. Now, as a normal human being, I would say that we are living beings. We need to move. We need to be pushed. But what actually pushes us? If we are non-living thing, we need external factors to move. But as a living being, what kind of force do we need to move? So this is where the depression, stress, anxiety is considered as normal. Okay, it wasn't that bad actually. Okay, let's say for example for the final exam, do you need stress or not during that time? Liana, would you need stress during that time, during final exam?
For me, if I'm not stressed during the final exam, I will. It's kind of do not push myself, because of stress I will study, something like that.
That's the thing. That's what we call as a eustress, a good stress. The bad stress is what we call as a distress. Now, but let's look into the perspective of eustress. It's a good stress. You need it. You need this stress to push you, to motivate you, to encourage you to study. So congratulations, you are a normal human being. It doesn't mean that like when you don't feel all these things, when you don't experience anything, you are not normal. No, it's either okay, be blessed, be bersyukur. Why? Because what you experience is something that is God give. God gave you to experience something. That's why we always use the word dikurniakan. Allah kurniakan masalah kepada kita. Allah kurniakan ujian kepada kita. God gave us. In Malay, if we were to use the word kurnia mean, it's not like giving, no. Kurnia is in English because it is bestowed. You are being bestowed. Okay, means that it is an honor because you receive something. Okay, you receive something from someone that is important. You receive from something that is very, superior than you. That is what we call that's why we use the word kurnia. You have been bestowed. And even in our dua, just now, Aiman did mention, bestowed us. Bestowed us. Oh God, bestowed us. God, please give me. You can use the word please give me, give, the word give. But then you want more. So when God gave you this kind of feeling, this kind of experience, first thing first is how would you be thanks enough that you have all these things? Okay, that's one side. Now in understanding depressions, and this is, I would say this is quite common these days, as compared to my time. Well, I'm not that old, okay? But yeah, during my time, it is rarely to hear the words kemurungan or depressed. But this couple of years, we can see that even 7 years old or 6 years old can actually say this word. This word came from them. It's like, 6 years old was saying that, oh, saya depressed lah. Oh, I'm depressed. I mean, like, where did he got these words? Okay. So did he actually know what is depressed? That's why I was saying that most of the time, no, most of our community these days, they simply say words, but they don't know what is actually meaning by that words. Now, just let me, a brief understanding about depression, anxiety, and stress. Now, in making us understand clearly or easily about these three things, I will not talk about any psychological jargons word, no, okay? But I'm just saying that, okay, depressions, no, let's look at what triggers this situation. Obviously, we can look from the basic one is what triggers them. Okay, these three conditions. First is depression. Depressions, for those who used to be in my sessions, they they know that I will talk about this thing over and over again. But yeah, that is my responsibility about promoting this thing and making people understand. Now, depression was caused by past experience, any traumatized experience, any past experience in which you bring or you can't handle and you prolong until the current sesuatu masalah yang daripada dulu, probably in the form of traumatized ke apa benda ke, and then you bawa sampai hari ni, you cannot handle, the problems can't be solved, or you tend not to solve, or you by any means the problem is still there sampai hari ni. Okay, that is depression. Okay, the keyword is past. Now let's look at stress. Stress is current, masa kini, sekarang. Okay, and most of the time, for the past 23 years, 20 years being in the area, I would say that stress is more likely to be an optional. Why optional? Now, the current, it is triggered by current situation. Let's say, for example, you're a student. You got your final exam, you got assignments. What else? You got financial, few minute situation of financial. You got boyfriend, girlfriend, relationships, new problem. Stress. What else? Having problem with lecturers. There's also currents. But if you look back, when I say stress is an optional, it's actually like, say for example, assignments. And I know towards this end of semesters, you got a lot of assignments. Now let me ask you something. When do you receive the assignment? And when do you need to submit the assignment? It's like earlier semester, you got the topics, you got the assignments, and then you have to submit towards the end of the semesters, right? And then why do you have to keep everything there during the final, towards a week before deadline? Why do you have to keep everything there? Why can't you just start from the beginning? and why do you have to procrastinate? So you see, sometimes it's basically in our attitude, our personality, and we bring those personality in our daily life, in our daily actions. Okay. So the definition of excessive workload: the moment you accept the facts that you become a student, okay, accept it will come with a package. What are the package? If you are taking architecture, for example, your package is you'll be in studios until 2, 3 in the morning. You have a deadline every 2 weeks. But do you realize all these things before you entered? No. Because during your SPM time, during your secondary time, you've been blinded with all the courses without, having the initiative to learn about or to know about the courses. Okay. So that is what actually merenjatkan, that really holds you like to become an engineer, and all of a sudden once you are in the engineering, you will say that, why did I choose this course? Why am I here? I thought engineering is easy. Oh no. I have no idea when I have to take psychology back then. But I know I love to study about human. I want to know about human. And it was so alien during that time, back in 94, 95. Whenever you say psychology and people will say that, oh, you're going to work with lunatics, orang gila. I say, huh? I was like, I truly believe during that time, oh, psychology kerja orang gila. But no, psychology have about like 150 plus sub areas. Anything that deals with human being. So stress is current. It is optional basis. You want to stress or not? Okay? Because you decide about stress. As long as your body are not signaling you that you are having stress, means that is merely here. And then that's why after the final exam, after the last paper, you can sleep like what, 2-3 days tanpa bangun. I've seen the student, throughout the final exam weeks, and he or she is really study macam nak rock everything. After the final exam, okay, that is stress. And obviously, when we talk about anxiety, now we got past. That is depression, were triggered. The depression was caused by past experiences. We got stress, current. And what about anxiety? Future. Any situations that triggered, in the future basis, that will become anxiety. Why? Because the key word for you to understand about anxiety is about insecurity, and then you can't expect things, you're unsure about something. That's why when you're about to go for any test, you want to go for any interview, gelabah tak gelabah, even you can watch this thing in like Seniman Bujang Lapuk, when student went to the toilet 7 times until he have nothing more to now, these kind of things. Anxiety is future. So in this kind of time, pandemic, most likely cases that rise is basically anxiety and depression. Nothing much about stress. Like when I say nothing much about stress, doesn't mean that there's no cases about stress. Yes, there is. But most of the cases are involving anxiety states. Like, let's say for example now, okay, you are stranded. You don't know what to expect because you can't go to the labs, you can't go for movies like you used to be. You can't go to I don't know what is there any nearest mall to UTHM whereby your gathering point ada tak? Social point ada tak, Lena?
Pardon, Doktor?
Do you have any social point there when you meet apa nama places for UTHM students to hang around, ada tak sana? You can
In this pandemic situation, of course not.
no, of course you cannot go.
Yeah, we cannot go
Okay,
anywhere.
so it pressures you because you cannot, you can't plan for tomorrow. That's why you are having anxiety. Okay, you can't plan for tomorrow. Okay, because it's like you are or the most you can do is like you're planning day by day. But since that you are having unrealistic expectations for yourself about that's why you are putting burdens to yourself. That's why it creates anxiety. Okay, so remember the keywords for anxiety. I mean, for depression, stress, anxiety: past, present, that's current, and future. Okay, so just look into yourself. You want to do some muhasabah, self-reflections. You know, your current state. What do you scared most right now? You know, are you scared about your future? Do I gonna have jobs in the future once I graduated? You know, for most of you are doing your final year right now. You know what to expect right now. That's why it is important for you to prepare yourself. You know, depression is considered as a mother of all mental illness actually. Okay, because you are bringing things from the past. Why should you bring things from the past? Now remember, if you were to drive, okay, you're having these side mirrors. Assume this side mirrors is something, reflections from your past. You just bump into something. If you were to focus yourself too much at the side mirror, in which at the same time you will need to focus on what happens ahead of you, your windscreen, no, eh? What happens? You bump into something else. So you just, you know, I know it's not easy to say that just leave your past behind. No, your past is meant to be your precious experience.
Precious experience, memories. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you were to move ahead, if you want to move on, okay, these are the terms that orang muda pakai kan. Move on. You know, easy said than be done. Okay, if you were to move on, okay, it's not about leaving your past, but using your past as with these two, kalau bahasa Melayu, itu 2P lah. One is pengalaman and one is pengetahuan. Because past had become these two things. Your history, your past had made you who you are today, by providing you pengalaman dan pengetahuan. That's why people say that if you don't learn anything from your past, no point. And if you can't take your past as your key to the future, no point. That's why when we see those people who succeed this day, they actually use their failures as the key for their success.
Yeah.
Because you cannot define success without having going through failure. You cannot, let me just rephrase that one. You cannot define success without going through failures. If you were to score straight A's since you were in kindergarten, sampai hari ini, and all of a sudden you got B. Or worse, you got D, for example. Okay? Then, you know, let me just rephrase that back. If you were to get A's, straight A's from kindergarten until today, sampai dah you grad, until you grad, you cannot simply say that, oh, I'm a success person. No, you cannot say that. You know, because success means that when you are able to stand back on your feet after you have felt, that is success. Okay? That is why you have scars. That's why in the case of depression, stress, anxiety, I mean, we want to see the scars, but unfortunately we can't see the scars. Because the scars is almost like invisible. It's not like physical, you know. That's why only in the case of depressions, self-harming happens. You're slashing yourself, and then one day you look back and then you started to, you were to see how fool you are, torturing yourself, and worse, in the case of depressions, people are having these suicidal thoughts or homicidal thoughts. Are we to blame them? No, because that is just the way depressed person be. Okay, do not label yourself. So just to recap, depression, stress, and anxiety, okay, there are three siblings, and these siblings, the worst is actually depression. Do not simply tell yourself or label yourself or perceive yourself that you are having depressions when at the same time your body are not telling you that thing. Okay, it is not supported. Because why? Do not being cruel to yourself, do not being unjust to yourself, just by labeling yourself, and then you treat yourself. And the most dangerous part is actually you feed yourself with all these things based on the self-understanding about this thing. And the moment you hit something yourself, and then you start to look for information. And there are a lot of information. Depression is like this, and then you simply, without consulting with any professional, you label yourself. Don't be unjust to yourself in this kind of situations. You know, because why? As long as you're a normal human being, it is considered normal to experience this. Okay, when things become worse, things become worse, and reach out for a support. Do not sit there. You know, if there is no support, create your own support circle. There is most important thing. Because why? Because a man is not an island. Man is not an island means that you are not alone. Okay, express out. I know the counseling centers there, and as a matter of fact, even societies like GSA, you're playing your role to reach out. But there's no point when you are trying to reach out. At the same time, the individual itself doesn't extend their hand towards you guys. The assistance is always there. That's why I say that in recent years we have been blessed. Because why? Because the understanding, the awareness about mental health is widely accepted. It's no longer, I can simply say is that it's no longer become a taboo. Okay, because why? All the facilities, all the assistance, we have NGOs, we have government bodies, we have like volunteers that would extend themselves to assist you. The most one, like for suicidal, we have befrienders. Reach them out. You are not alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doctor, how do this someone is actually potential to develop mental illness, mental health problem?
Okay. Now, um, years ago, when we talk about mental illness, it's either two. It's been triggered by two. Whether it is like it is caused by the inheritatory. Okay, you are inheriting it, or it could be by environments. But this day, it could be multifactorial. Means that anything could trigger an individual. That's why coping is important. How do you cope with situations? I wouldn't want to say that, oh, kita terima ini takdir Allah. No. Yes, you can simply say that. But then how would, you are in a state where your mouth would to say that and your mind are not agree with that. Most of us are easily saved, but then it is not agreeable by your own self. Lain mulut, lain di hati, lain di pemikiran. Itu bahayanya pelajar perempuan ni, adik-adik perempuan ni. Mulut kata tak terima, kan? Tapi hati lain. Dalam pemikiran teringat-ingat, kan? Tapi depan-depan jual mahal. Okay, just sampingan. Okay. Now the thing is, when we see this kind of situation, it must be supported. Like I say, it must be supported by your physiology. Because the cause sekarang ni, anything could be a cause. That is why one of the tips, if you were to be in a state of depressed, stress, apa benda, it is okay. I mean, in the case of cyberbully, for example, because why? Because this day we hardly share with people. We only share with social media. And the dangerous part, shared with social media, is you are making people mix their own judgment and understanding. Okay, that's the most dangerous part. when you try to share it with social media, in social media. You are letting people analyze you. You are letting people judge you. And then at the end of the day, you've been bullied. You feel that you've been bullied. You feel that, you know, it becomes more pressure. Now, a couple years ago, there was a 16 years old Sabahan girl, if I'm not mistaken, it was Sabahan girl. What she did was actually she had a poll in her IG. Should I commit a suicide or not? And everybody start mocking her, saying that, oh, you should, blah blah blah. And you know what? She really committed. Okay. So why on earth that we are using social media, you know, just a glimpse. Because why? Because there are cases, I think most of we, you know, there's a significant rise that cases were caused by social media too. Okay, so be very careful. If you are not strong enough, do not share it in social media. That's why in the tips itself, if you've been burdened, try to deactivate your social media. I know you are being hooked up with social media, all these technologies, all this. Yeah, but then if you think that it doesn't really helps you in a certain ways, by all means, have the strength, have the courage to pull yourself out from there. You know, or you can even simply like get someone. Okay, I can't click deactivate button. Can you do for me? Yeah, by all means, I can do that for you. Okay.
Yeah, but basically, social media is actually one of the most contributing factor. Also, I think most of us sometimes feel triggered when we see others posting maybe like an achievement or something. And deep down inside here, we do have like a slightly a feel like burden
Lena, Lena,
yourself.
let
Yeah.
me put this in a very easy way. You
Okay.
know, these day why most teenagers why use they go for, oh, I mean, like I don't want to be more I don't want to be judgmental here, but let's just say everyone, we go for social medias because we want to get conformity by, you know, from others, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And then when we are in that state, that's why, you know, when you were to post something, you would post something that is like, you know, really meant by the status. If you were to say sad, it must show that it was really sad. You know, no one would simply like your status if you were to write an essay there. You know, so a picture tells 1,000 words. So that's why people, the individual would put something that is really try to signify their emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that is why there is a loophole where people tend to misjudge, to analyze you, or worse, people are manipulating you because of the situation. Okay, so uh, bear in mind that nothing wrong actually when you want to post something in social media, but are you willing, or do you ready for any consequences, for any kind of what do you call that, any kind of feedback, because you're gonna get both negative or positive. You know, it's most likely about like neutral. You know, so are you ready for this one or not? I wouldn't encourage you to go for social media if you want to express something, because you got people, you got friends. Yeah, during this pandemic, okay, so you realize, you know, I remember about this thing. During these moments, for those who are at home, and for those who are in the campus, now, as a human being, we always wanted things on our way. Okay, but the fact is we can't get anything. No, I mean, we can't get everything, not anything. We can't get everything what we want. Okay, and if you are unable to cope with situations, just like social medias, you know, for some reason these are the triggering point. Okay, so that's why when we access into one's clients, uh we are looking for any of these keywords, to see to pre-diagnose whether you are having depression, stress, or anxiety. Yeah, someone might be triggered. Now social medias, we like Facebook, for example, it will come out early in the morning, our memories, right, our past. Now if you were to put something good, okay, so it will become like morning reminder. We open up our Facebook. 5 years ago I went out with my now I mean, like, now you're students, right? Let just what do you call that, let's just project in 5 or 6 years from now, or 10 years from now. The memories come back. Good things. You went out with your colleagues, you know during this 2021, or you stranded during 2021, for example. It will affect your emotions during that time. Okay, so, like, I always promotes nothing wrong with experience. Okay, nothing wrong of what you are going through, whether it's a bad experience or it is a good experience. It is considered an experience that makes who you are today. Okay, that's why the two piece, that is pengetahuan dengan pengalaman, experience and knowledge, is two powerful tools for you to carry on with your life. It's not like the first time you're having stress. It's not like the first time you're having depression. It's not the first time you're having anxiety. But it's how you let yourself melt to it. How do you actually let yourself immerse with the situation? Adapt to the situation. Just like exam. It wasn't the first time that you're attending exam, for example. Okay? And why should you differentiate level of anxiety according to quiz, exam, and test? All those things are the same. I'm not sure about you, Liana. How do you see quiz, test, and exam? What are the differences between these?
Quiz, test, and exam. If I want to see the difference, I will see the marks allocation. So when it comes to quiz, it's like a 5%, and then quiz and exam is contribute more percent. So yeah, as a student, we need.
Yeah, I know. Been there, done that. That's why I would say, what makes it different? It's not about. I mean, yeah. If you were to mix the contribution mark as the, what do you call that, as the measuring point, as the tool to measure. As a student, even single marks is important.
Yeah.
Even 1 mark, even 0.5 is important. So you see, you are the one that label quiz, test, and exam.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, all these three situations requires a commitment from you to study. Okay, so that's why that is how I cope with these three situations. Because if I were treated not wrongly lah, but then if I were to treat it differently, quiz, alah, study relax je. Test, okay, a bit, you increase your test, okay, your level of intensity. Final exam, I have to increase more my intensity.
And then at the end you will have too much stress because you have to study and focus
Because you are the one that increase the level of intensity. That's what I would say. Like this is what happens around us. Okay, so you experience all these things, but you need to aware about your body. If your body is signaling you, then that situation is worse. It's getting worse. Sorry, that situation is getting worse. If you like to experience it like after the exam, you dah okay, lega dah, relax the thing. Means that is merely speech of words ataupun is merely a labeling.
Yeah, true.
And
The main point is how you label yourself, how
mm,
when you decide to be student, as you told before, you have to label yourself as a student. You have to know you're functioning well as a student. Okay, that's so yeah. So maybe we go through the we have a plenty of questions from the
Yeah,
audience. Yeah.
yeah, I'm reading it now.
I'm touched for basically from these students. I think every students experienced it, having problem to ensure the study runs smoothly, and then he also having problem to communicate with supervisor, and also feel scared to communicate with the supervisor, and also how to handle problems with sleeping partners during assignments.
Sleeping partners?
Sleeping.
Are you saying that there's I mean, like, yeah, we have couples here. I mean, married. Okay, what's wrong with that?
I meant that for group work partner.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so basically, I think most of the students having problem in this web class, virtual class. They're having problem to communicate with the lecturers and also the friends, and as bit as much also having problem to communicate with the family. Because we are spent our days, the whole days in front of the laptop, and we don't have the engagement time with the family. So, your point of view, doctor?
Okay, now we limit our interaction actually. Okay, now most of the time we wait for others to start. Okay, and most likely we because that sense of waiting for others, everybody become crick. You know what's crick? The sound of crickets. Like macam, okay, what you gonna do? You feel awkward. That's what happens actually in the beginning of the pandemic. As the graph move up, we seems to be like, okay, dah, we settle down dengan our family, everything. And the painful part is when we start to know the person. All this while we only spend like couple of hours, couple of time dengan kita punya family members, with our family members. Now all of a sudden, the pandemics provide us the 24/7 time with our family. Now, normal human being, we cannot act. Now, most of the time, we project ourselves to people. Okay? Just a couple of minutes, just a couple of time, hours. Okay? Because we cannot prolong ourselves. Kita tak boleh nak selindung diri kita dalam satu jangka masa lama. We always act to please other people. We act, we show, to make people accept us. But how long can we, how long we can actually hold ourselves? Tak larat dah nak berlakon-berlakon ni. That's why the urge from you, I mean the eruptions of urge. I want to become myself now, but I'm in my family right now. I can't do most of the things that I know. If I were to go back to the college, I can spend my time. Ini kat rumah anak dara, nak tidur lebih tak boleh. Main game lewat tak boleh. But when you are at the campus ke, when you are at the college ke, you macam, okay, I got my whole time with me, weekend. Then at home lah, when you are about to go for your online class, and then your mom simply say, kakak, Liana, tolong sedia baju. Tolong lipat baju. Ni tengok adik kejap. Adik, your brother is having class. Go and help him technically. And then ni, but you're having class. All these kind of things have become pressures to you. Now, it was identified now throughout the pandemic. Most people don't talk. They kept things inside them. They don't share. And even if you are in a family, you limit yourself in interacting with them. That is why, frankly speaking, there are some increased number in terms of divorce during the pandemic. There seems to be increased a bit numbers of domestic violence. So there's always be blessing in disguise. When you were busy before the pandemic, you always try to find rooms to be with your loved one. Okay, but that is human, al-insan. Min kalimah, in the Quran, call insan min kalimah nasiyah, pelupa. We always forget what we ask Allah for. We always forget what we ask from God. And what we receive is actually these kind of things. You always wanted that you to have like how I wish I wouldn't have to go to office. I can't stand with my office mate. I can't stand with my friends, blah 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 things. Okay, fine. God gave you this thing. So the first 2 weeks, everything's to be seronoknya, happy we can be, kind of things. And masuk second PKP, the MCO was extended, and then you start, okay lagi. And then after a year, things become so furious. You become mad, angry, that kind of thing. Why? Because we just can't stand. For those who really see things in a very optimistic way, they would benefit this situation. It's just like when the pandemic hit for the first 2-3 months. Those who were having business, small businesses, everything went down. That's why it is important in any given situation or in life. I always hold to this quote. What do you call that? What do you call that? Sorry, all of a sudden it was lost there. Okay. Prepared for the worst. Okay. Expect the unexpected. Because that is life. If you were to put yourself in a very conscious way, you would prepare yourself for anything. Let's say, for example, the possibility of having problems with your course mates, with your group mates, your group members, your assignments. Okay. Why? Because let me tell you another secret of university student. You are actually for your future life in your current course. That is why you experience all these things. If you are taking architecture, for example, then you have to do your assignments. The deadline is every 2 weeks, and then you have to be in studio until 2-3 in the morning. When you become an architect, that is just how life be. So we are building up the strength in you since the university level. Okay, because why? There is some issues in our graduates. Once they graduated, they just can't survive out there. Why? Because when you were students, you complained so much. When you were students, you did not participate much. When you were students, menigu lah, apalah, kind of things. I mean, like, yeah, that's a student life, come on. But how would you use all these experiences? Okay, if you do have a procrastinating kind of attitude now as a student, and you don't even change, and you don't even tend to change, that will prolong sampai you kerja. That's why university levels is actually preparing you, is a training ground for you guys. So if you were to experience depressed, stress, anxiety during the study, this is, if I were to put scale 1 to 10, this is only merely like scale in a scale 2. Tahap 2 baru. If you can't even go on with the tahap 1, tahap 2 of stress ini, just imagine now you only like what for your assignments, you have like 13-14 weeks in one semester, and then you got period of your assignments like what to complete it within like 10 weeks, for example, and you can't even cope with that. You can't even finish it. Just imagine when you are working. Sila hari bulan, hari ni dapat klien, besok you kena present. Just imagine. Okay. So at the university levels, it's not about the knowledge itself, but it's the experience. It's about the training. Okay. So if you were to stranded at home right now, okay, just imagine. For me, it is a blessing in disguise. Because one day, if you were to have your own family members, if you were to marry, if you had to have your own kids, kind of thing. If you consider that during this pandemic, you turn the feeling of unsatisfactory to to a feeling of actually I'm going for a training in which I don't know when it is end. So you will see that yourself is actually in training ground. Okay, you learn to love your family members despite that you are having some hatred ke marah ke apa benda. Yes, it exists. Because once you get married, it's not like you're going to love your wife, your husband 100%. No, there's no such thing as 100%. You know, even when I were to ask you, do you love your parents 100%? Now, how many of you guys can really brave enough raise your hand? I love my parents 100%. Can you testify that you 100% love your parents, Diana?
No, I could not give the answer. Seriously, if you ask that question to me, I could not answer that one.
Yes, that is the kind of things. So if you are unable to please others, the critical part is, can you please your own self? If you always questions about why can't people understand me, you always have that questions, right? But the true feeling, the true situation happens, you are unable to understand your own self. How would you, how would you simply blame or question people for not understanding you? Hampa pun tak faham diri sendiri, tak kenal diri sendiri. I mean, like, yeah, this is what happens. Because why? Because we always expect people to accept us. We always expect people to understand us. But at the same time, we have that big problem, that situation. Okay? So, you see, there are a lot of things that triggers actually comes from us. Okay? So, each and every day, we learn from depression. We learn from stress. We learn from anxiety. We learn from hatreds. We learn from care. We learn from caring others, share others. The thing is, are you aware that you are going through all these experiences in which, as a normal human being, whatever we see, whatever we feel, whatever we experience, it becomes a knowledge. Okay? Because knowledge doesn't come totally from reading. And that is why in Islam, in Al Quran says that what better than a knowledge is adab. Okay? Adab. So if you are stay at home, just imagine any one of you guys, your friends, who are staying stranded in the office, in the campus, not be able to go back, and then you are there, you don't actually feel the burden of financial, the burden of what to eat today, can I eat today? And I have seen students, recently we had this EMCO of our PKPD UTM, so alhamdulillah, everything being catered. Alhamdulillah, we got all the sufficient sufficient assistance from others. We cater them. We can cater, we can give, you can provide the physical facilities, the well-being, the physical well-being, but the psychological well-being, it is not easy. So if you're still you're being tested with your family, human being, we would miss something that is no longer in front of us. Kita akan mula merindu sesuatu bila ianya tak ada depan mata. That is human being. Okay? Dan kita jarang bersyukur dengan apa yang ada di depan mata. So whether it is in front of us or it's no longer with us, that is a form of test. Okay? Now you realize that, how I wish I can sit physically with my colleague and having discussion. Last time I used to be just like tukang tolong print, tukang photostat saja, not contributing. Now you wanted, that is, I would say congratulations, you are a normal human being. You realize things. But would you change if everything's come back to normal, become our daily routines back? Would you would you be the persons that you are during the pandemic? You might most likely you change, because during the pandemic itself, it somehow altered your personality. From someone who are actually extrovert become introvert. Those who are confident enough become inconfident. You are what you think you are. So if you don't want things to happen badly to you just because of the pandemic, you are the one that responsible enough to maintain yourself, to enhance yourself, to to create. That's why I say starts from you. You don't wait for your family members. If things become dull in your family members, if you just can't cope with this thing, take a break and guide your family to take a break. You know, because why? Because when you're at home, regardless whether you're a student, you're a staff, when you are at home, most people are having problems to 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 differentiate themselves between professional self and personal self. You don't have to bring your professional self 24/7, or you don't have to bring that personal self 24/7. You know when you have to. Most people they are unable to say to their mother or their dad, or when they're having class. You can simply tell them, okay, I'm having class at this hour, at this hour. Okay, so they know, okay, this hour tak boleh kacau. You are responsible to inform them so that you won't get stressed. See how I did mention about stress is actually an optional, but then you are not telling them. You are expecting them to understand. Oh, jangan. Most of us expect others people to understand. Like I say, when you expect other people to understand you, you got a big issue there, because you don't even understand yourself. And how would you expect people to understand you? If I were to show my care to Liana, okay, would you interpret what kind of care would I give to you? Well, do you have feeling with me or not? All this while you show all this thing, blah 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 thing. Are you in love with me? I can't simply say that my action speaks my mind, tak boleh. Because you might be misinterpret. If I were to say I love you, I could simply, be to you and say I love you, so that everything is clear. But if I were to show things by action, blah blah blah, and then you can get confused. You ni apa benda ya? And then you balik, and then so if you really want to know, you can simply come to me. All this while you've been doing all these things to me, blah 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 kind of things. Why? Means that you are responsible enough to know why are you doing all these things. You don't simply sit there, wait for me, and also wait for you, and sudahnya you jadi bini orang, I jadi suami orang. Contohnya lah. Banyak berlaku kan. Because you don't speak your mind. That's why banyak keadaan ni berlaku pada pelajar yang berada di rumah. They don't speak their mind. Even if you say that I don't have courage to speak to talk to my supervisor or my lecturer. Remember about the ABC tadi? Okay. If you have to
behavior and cognitive.
Okay. The same goes to afraid, scared, and fear. Sama tak tu? Tiga-tiga tu. Macam sama kan? Afraid, scared, and fear. Now, put it this way. Afraid is an element of emotion. Okay. Scared is the element of behavior. While fear is the element of cognition. Because you can't prove what kind of fear. Let's say, if I were to ask you, Liana, untuk jalan dekat kubur, pukul 12 malam, would you do it?
No, thank you.
Why?
because of my fear, I think. Yeah, fear.
Why do you say it's fear? Now you're getting it. Good, alhamdulillah. Why?
Why? Because I'm afraid of the ghost story, 12 a.m. at the kubo,
So it is here, right? It's here. Okay, it's just like you're going for a subject. And then you heard that, oh, that subject, you register for that subject. Unfortunately, the only lecturer that teach that subject is so-called killer lecturer. When you have that things in early semester, you akan simpan benda tu sampai hujung semester. It's not because of the course, but because of the fear to the lecturer. It's not about the lecturer, come on. Okay? So that is the element of condition. So if you were to afraid to the lecturer, means that emotionally you takut pada cikgu tu, pada lecturer tu lah. So actually, because if you don't know, you know, you just can't hit some things that you don't know. You can't see, just like this pandemic. We are battling with something yang kita tak nampak. That's why we need courage at all the time. Okay? You nak lawan hantu, je lah. Orang semua baca lah, whatever kind of things lah. You know, just to chase the ghost away, the belief system, blah blah blah, the pawang, kind of things. Hantu tu tengok aje. Apalah kau buat? You know, what are you doing? I'm here. I'm not afraid of you. You just keep doing what you want to do. I'm doing my job and you keep your job. Okay, kind of thing. Okay, so I know that most of the questions about being stranded at home with the environment, with the need, and one more thing. Nevertheless, sometimes it's not about what being triggered at home. But you are actually young adulthood. Your stage is you just pass your teenage years. Now you are the young adulthood, in which you always wanted things on your own. You wanted your own rooms. You wanted to, like, I don't know what to call that. Always wanted people to understand you and guide you to do things. Okay? So that's why you cannot cope with this kind of situation. But the bottom line here is, if you accept the facts, what is going on, you would adjust yourself accordingly. You know? It's just like when you go for abroad, for example. You know? Let's say, Liana, you were to go to you were to go to Paris, for example. Would you wear your kain batik out of nowhere?
Hey, of
Kat
course,
sana?
no.
Why?
Because I meant the set here. I think because of the mindset.
Because you are adapting yourself at Paris.
Oh, okay.
You are not going to wear your batik jalan benda ni semua. Even unless it become a fashion.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah,
Kan? But then you just, you know, that is how you adapt yourself there.
adapting.
Okay? So, how do you really adapt your situation accordingly? Kalau tidak, ini yang kata masuk kandang kambing, mengembik masuk kandang harimau, mengaum. Okay? So it is about acceptance lah. You know, how do you actually accept yourself and how you really accept the environment you are in. Okay, I hope that would answer a very long answers for those who are having, I sum up, those who are having problems at home, on how you cater with the situation at home. I did saw one question about Abraham Maslow. Okay, if I were to read this, because I'm very interested about Abraham Maslow for information, Liana, because this is partially my, I wouldn't say my specialized lah, but I really love to talk about Maslow hierarchy of needs. So if I were to read about, I have two questions according to Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs. There are 5 levels of needs, yet recent research states there are one that is higher than self-actualization need is spiritual needs. This is what we call as a transcendence need. The spiritual needs is what we call as a transcendence need. Okay. By making connection with the unseen, etc. Okay, in handling stress, how would you relate this? When chasing ourselves towards academic goals, our social needs, connections with peers, express our problems during tea time in coffee shop is prohibited during MCOs. It leads to self-feelings uncontentful and lonely. How can we deal with this? Is there a way having group social support? Oh, there's 3 questions. Okay. Ruqayya. Okay, Ruqayya. Like I say, you still can have a coffee with your colleagues, you know, like myself, I still can have this what do you call that no, during hari Khamis, kadang-kadang Khamis malam Jumaat, Thursday, I would have sessions, coffee session with my family once in a while. Okay, inshallah, I'm looking forward this Friday, because my youngest, my son, is going to khatam his Quran, inshallah. So for the first time, so we're gonna have this khatam majlis khatam online. As a matter of fact, now we have this baca Yasin. Recently, my friend, his father passed away due to COVID, and we have online Yasin session. So what's wrong with that? Okay, so we are the one that design the new approach. Okay, we design the new approach. Because why? If you were to stranded on an island whereby you don't have anything. Before that, I had my background when I was undergraduate, when I was in my studies years, I was in the rescue team, and one of my coach, I would say my mentor, would say that in a case of emergency, okay, in a case of emergency, when you panic, it cuts 50% chances to survive. Just imagine. If you panic, you cut 50% chances to survive. Why? Because you're struggling, blah, blah, kind of things. Okay, that's why when you stranded, if you were to, if you had watched the movie called Castaway, okay, whereby he was stranded on an island on his own. If you panic, you can only survive like what, 2-3 days aja. You know, we had this one former UiTM student who were lost in a woods, in a forest, Tahan, if I'm not mistaken, Taman Negara, for 9 days. How she could survive? Okay. Anything happens in life, the thing is you don't panic first. Panic is a normal reaction, kena ingat. Okay. Because it need to comfort. Panic is like a comforting you. Okay. Then you duduk, settle down, fikir, okay, what are you gonna do? You don't simply, when things happen, boom, you terus ni, tak boleh. Okay. The same goes with your emotions. When you started to experience something, you don't panic. Kalau bahasa Melayu ni, jangan melatah lah. But most of us really melatah first. Okay. Bukan tak boleh melatah, boleh. But then you know when, how. How long can you melatah? How long can you be panic? Then you settle down. Okay. Out of nowhere, tiba-tiba dapat berita orang yang kita sayang meninggal. Okay. Compose ourselves. You don't simply react, because kalau kita react pada ketika tu, our reactions will be unintentional ataupun apa kata, could harm ourselves and others. Okay. So talking about during this MCO, like say, you know, Rukayah, you can design what you want to be. How how would you conduct certain things? You know, the problem is only like physical. You can actually get it, everything is online. Yeah, we've questioned previously. Last year we questioned, can online classes be that effective? You know, currently I'm writing a paper actually, you know, assisting my friend, writing a paper about online classes, social media as a tools in teaching and learning. We have to trust in that, because it is something new. Nothing wrong of trying, but it worth of trying if you know, if you don't try, if you don't start these things, you will never know. Okay, that is about you know, as long as you are not there on your own. Okay. Now, going back to Abraham Maslow, yes. What is self-actualization, and what is the transcendence need? Self-actualization in a very simplest way in understanding, whereby you have achieved everything, but then you feel like there's an empty rooms inside you. Now, let me give you in a very simple analogy for you to understand Maslow hierarchy of needs, the 5 stages plus another one. Let's assume when you start working, that is the physiological need. You work. Once you graduated, why do you work? Because you only want to get salary, okay? Because you only want to start your life. That is the first 5 years of working, okay? So subsequently, when during this first 5 years ni, you establish security atau safety needs. What is the safety needs? Bila dah kerja, you want get confirmation for your job, and then you start beli rumah, when you started to buy things, you want to keep it somewhere, so you keep it in your own house. You wouldn't want to keep your belongings dekat rumah mak ayah ke tidak. Okay, you have to have your own house. Okay, that is a belonging. Okay, safety. Okay, you got physiological needs, you got safety needs. Next is what? Next is esteem. Okay, ada keyakinan diri. Okay, bila ada keyakinan diri, that's why you dah naik pangkat, you got a better post, increase your salaries, kind of things. Okay, so you got what? Belonging. You want to be accepted. Okay, then finally you got self-actualization. Now, if I were to stretch all these things in the years of your working career, the self-actualization is mainly when you are almost retirement age. You have no longer hutang-hutang semua dah habis, you don't have debts anymore. You got families, anak-anak dah besar, they bring their life, everything. And then that what left you with your pasangan, and then you retired. And then it seems that what I'm going to do after retirement, I'm not going to go back to office and offer myself. I want to spend sometimes myself and my creator, my belief. So that's why kat masjid-masjid ramai orang-orang mencen. Kedai kopi, I'm just kidding. Okay. So, because why? Because you have fulfilled everything in life. What else would you think about? Okay. So this is where, you need, because you have spent years in your working areas, and then you somehow, I wouldn't say neglect lah, but I think that is the nearest word to indicate that all these years you did not commit yourself too much in your belief system. In your religion. So once you dah pension, you dah bersara, retired, okay, saying that now I want to spend my time, orang kata apa, to in my ibadah. That's why you have, in any religion, in any belief system, we have this transcendence need. So we are prepare ourselves for the next life and the hereafter kind of things. Okay, Rukaya? So yes, but then not everyone accept there is a peak after the self-actualization. Okay, I hope that answers Rukaya, inshallah.
Okay, Doctor, maybe you can give some response on Aiman questions asking about self-harming, commit suicide, women are higher than men, and about the perception that boys can't cry or else you are not manly. Yeah, is this thing closely related?
Okay. May I? Normally, if your physical sessions, the organizer will give drinks, right? So now, Rukaya, now you have to prepare your own. Excuse me for a while.
All right.
Last night I had a session with UUM student. Okay, it was until almost 11. Yeah, okay, when we see about depressions, if someone says that about having this suicidal thought, about self-harming, isolating, lost interest, kind of thing, that would lead to someone's, it was like criteria for depression. Okay, means that symptoms for depression. Okay, you need to understand what is meant by suicidal thought or suicidal ideation, and attempting suicide and suicide. Okay. Now, most likely we've seen during the pandemics there are numbers, but then it was not revealed about the suicide, and even the numbers or the age become increasingly. I mean, like is lowering. Even 7 years old would simply say that I want to commit suicide. There was one case about 6 years old hung herself. Okay. Now it's about how I did mention earlier about how we express ourselves to our environment, to people around us. You know, when your mind is not being occupied with something, this is where the dangers come in. You let your mind be filled by something ridiculous, for example. Okay, just because of one person rejects you doesn't mean the whole world rejects you, even though that person really meant so much to you. You don't do fool things just to get people's conformity. No, just because to please other people you become a pleaser. No, because once you fall into this, you start losing yourself. Remember, at the end of the day, you don't have anyone else except yourself. Okay, so this is where I would encourage people to be quite sometimes become selfish. Think about yourself. Do some prioritizing. What really important to you? What importance to you may not be important to someone else. Okay, but knowing that we culturally born with think about others and let ourselves drop away, ini dah jadinya. Kita duk fikir orang, duk layan nanti orang, kita lupa diri sendiri sampai sanggup merana. Does it sound familiar, Liana? This does happen. Okay, and I'm not saying that men and women, yeah, there was a what do you call that? There was a stats of figures saying that depression that hits men, especially about committing suicide kind of thing. Now, by nature, women are overthinkers, but they express themselves. That's why they like to next, belete. And men don't like to hear that. But trust me, that is the sounds to their music when they no longer meet you. We don't like our mother tonight. Tak suka kan mak kita belete kan. Cuba letak sekarang. You haven't been back for like 2 months, 3 months, the whole semester, you rasa apa? Rindu tak? Rindu tak dengan letiran mak? My mom passed away when I started my PhD. Okay? And I really miss that. So things you have to look back. It doesn't mean that you have to keep everything to you. No. Because you can't answer all the questions that you raise. You tak boleh jawab semua soalan yang you sendiri bangkitkan. And most of the time, when we are in that kind of situation, we always ask questions in which we don't have the answer. For example, kenapalah semua ni berlaku pada aku? Do you have answers to that one? No, I don't think so. But what God really promise you that there is la yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. I will not tell you more than what you can behold. And when I give you all these tests, is for one reason, and that reason is a wisdom, hikmah. But don't ask me what are the hikmah. It is for you to look for the hikmah. Okay? So if you have that mindset of committing suicide, ask yourself back. Do you really? Because in the case of suicide, they would not be like staying up there on a high building for 2-3 hours. No. Because those who are committing suicide, they really go for it. They don't wait. They simply do it. Okay? And most of the time, they normally have shown some symptom or signal or whatever, that makes people alert. So that is why it is important for us to be aware of ourselves and to be aware of people around us. But what happens, when you meet wrong people, when you express the wrong things to wrong people, like let's say for example, I don't think I want to live anymore. And that person likely to say that, tahu tak, it is haram. Nabi tak mengaku umat, you straight to hell, blah blah blah. You don't have to you don't have to say all these things. Simply come for tea, come let's have a coffee and we'll chat there. It's not like simply that you heard someone is like taking the same for. I mean, like, if you were to read any of your friends' message or text in status in their social medias, do not simply give the feedback kat situ. PM dia, DM dia. Hey, nama siapa? Okay. You want to share? You just give your phone number. Don't push. Ceritalah kat aku ni kawan baik kau. Tell me I'm your best friend. Sampai hati kau tak cerita kat aku, blah 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 kind of thing. How dare you don't share with me. I'm your friends, kot. I'm your real friends, kot. I don't push that one. Simply leave your phone number. That's what I do in UTM confession. I just simply put my number there. I don't have to ask why, what happened, blah 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 things. No, jangan. But this is the problem with social media. If any issue strikes, there will be an instant ustad, instant counselor, instant lawyers, instant, I don't know. Keluarlah macam-macam ni. You don't have to tell there. You don't have to give the feedback there. PM dia orang. Text dia orang. Okay? Because why? Because that shows that you're really concerned about them. That really shows that you are different from the rest of dia punya followers lah, dia punya kawan maya lah, cyber friends lah. And what distinguishes you from others. Okay? So, boys can't cry or else you are not manly. Now, the thing is, we've been brought up in such a way. Since we were kids, boys, you don't cry. Now, that is a big... Now, one day you become parents, Liana and the rest, Ahmad. One day you become parents. What's wrong with crying? A boy is crying. What's wrong? It's not like they're going to be like besar jadi sisi, no. Tapi kita, when we educate our kids to cry, when they were kids, they cry. Obviously, it's cry, not tantrum. There's a difference between crying and tantrum. Tantrum ni yang guling-guling menangis tu, no. Yang itu, that one you have to be, that one you need to, apa kata, suruh dia berhenti. Tapi kalau kata dia, let's say dia sakit, dia nangis. Dia kata dah berhenti menangis. You menangis pun takkan hilang. Nangis pun, you don't simply say that. Because you bombard them daripada kecil. Boys don't cry. Boys don't cry. What's wrong with crying? Yes, obviously, men by nature, they express through actions. Women express through words and feelings. That's why you can't ask a man whether you love me or not. Because they don't know how to answer. Because they can feel, but they don't know. Whenever they tell, yes, I love you. Are you seriously? It doesn't sound like very sincere. Dah sudah pula. Sudahnya jadi marah. Sudahnya lepas tu bila tanya love you ke tidak, malah nak jawab. Tapi kita tahu, we know that, belikan barang, belikan makanan, belikan ni, be there, hantar ni semua. But you don't actually ask, man, you love me or not? Do you miss me? Mana yang jawab balik, yes, I miss you. Be very careful. Because merely it's a speech of words. If a guy really miss you, if a guy, this is outside from the topic, a tips for my adik-adik perempuan for your future. If you ask a man whether they love you or miss you, and they are unable to answer it, okay, despite they are questioning you back, probably that is love, because you don't have reasons to say that I love you. Wah, gitu. Okay, balik kepada Iman. Okay, now you don't actually, you know, if you need to cry, cry. Because why? Because you can't simply out of nowhere cry. Kena ingat emotion is God bestowed. Emosi ni adalah kurniaan Allah. Kalau you nak buat gembira, if you try to make yourself happy by mocking yourself, memang tak boleh. The same that if you like to love someone, you push yourself to love someone, tak boleh. When you try to hate someone, it doesn't happen. Instead, you become lagi sayang ke orang tu. You don't push yourself to that extent when it comes to your emotions. Okay? Or what people call toxic masculinity. Do you think that mindset is still relevant this day? Yeah, it's forever mindset. You are what you think you are. That's why if you look into the form of the wisdom about zakat, for example, it strengthens you. If you were to say you bodoh, aku ni bodoh lah, bodoh becomes zikir. So that's it. Just like a psychological pain. What triggers physical pain? In some cases, it was triggered by psychological pain. That's why at the PKRC, pusat kuarantin, kita boleh tengok orang main pingpong, dia orang they can pray congratulationally, semayang berjemaah, they had karaoke kind of things, and then we start question, is that PKRC? Ini pusat kuarantin ke? We have a question. The thing is, why they have to do all these things? Why they provide all these things? Okay, masa raya tu, during the raya, we can see that they're having the takbir. I mean, we miss them. We miss that environment. They can semayang main Jumaat, and we are outside here, we cannot. The thing is, they need to boost their body immune system. Because when you are down, the chances for your body immune system akan low. And how would you fight penyakit tu? Okay, that's why when you are alone ni semua, bila you rasa macam badan tak ni, give a call to your family members, a video call ke macam mana ke, interact with your lecturers, pedulilah dia marah ke, dia geram ke apa benda. I did that, so just meet your lecturers. Kalau rasa takut tu is normal, because you always see the lecturers as an authority. Kita tengok siapa-siapa authority dan kita takut. Okay, but you have the courage to do so. Because kalau you tak macam tu, when you down and you don't treat yourself, your body system akan low, you akan terdedah kepada penyakit-penyakit biasa, penyakit that is demam, sesama, batuk. Why? Because your body immune system is low.
No, yeah. I totally agree. And what the main thing is, you focus on things you can control. Yeah, like attitude, your kindness, finding some fun during this pandemic. But you gotta let go the things that you can control. Mean that thinking how long thing will last, how long is COVID will be end,
Jana, I totally agree. I don't forget about that thing. Manusia ni dia cuba kawal sesuatu yang dia tak boleh kawal.
Yep.
Jangan buat macam tu. Don't do that. Don't try to control things that beyond your control. Okay? Because you need to control your own necessities actually. Okay? If you were to move ahead, I mean, if you were to move to extend certain things, make sure it's within the realistic reach. Jangan jauh sangat. Jangan ni sangat. If you let's say for example, you are not an A student. I'm not an A student. I wasn't an A student at all. I almost failed my SPM. I graduated my degree with 2.555. Okay, and people laugh at me when I did my in the process of doing my PhD. People laugh at me. it's not about that I'm going to reach for A. No. You know, I always say to myself, and as a matter of fact, that's how my father motivated me. When each semester, I'm going to tell him my result, regardless of fail ke apa benda. And he always respond me this one thing. Alhamdulillah, as long as tak apa, dari mana tak ada fail kan. And I mean like, obviously father will always wanted son, children to score A's, right? I mean like my personal experience, my father didn't put me that name. Because why? Because he knows my ability and capacity. Okay? And that taught me to live life within my own line. You know, not to compare with others. You know, we always compare to others. You know, adik-beradik aku dia dapat A, kenapa aku tak dapat A? Come on. At the end of the day, you only have yourself. Why will you be comparing yourself to others? You know your limitation. Even your mom that raised that brought you to this world pun tak tahu you punya kelebihan atau kelemahan. Only you knows. Okay, so you can actually work within your own lane. Okay, and when you want to extend realistically. Okay, push yourself to the limit but not to the extent. Maksudnya one at a time. Okay, kalau biasa you dapat B, biasa dapat C, tiba-tiba you target terus A, yang you tahu you punya usaha tak mampu takat A, dan kenapa you nak push yourself to that ni? Tapi bila you dapat C, bila daripada C tu you bergerak ke B. Okay, because you tahu macam mana daripada C nak dapat B. Kemudian daripada B nak gerak ke A, baru ni. Means that you are doing things at a time. Okay, you don't push yourself sampai you memberi tekanan kepada diri sendiri. Okay, because we can cope with others with external punya expectation, but most of the time we always have problems in coping our own apa kata expectation. Allah.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And then limit your expectation so that your body can give you all. You know. So doctor, I think maybe you can give like um give like an advice if we have a friends having mental health issue, and then we know that they used to keep things by themselves, and yeah, how can we provide and assist them, provide emotional support, something like that.
Okay, good questions. During this pandemic, stay in touch with your friends. Okay, have a time break. Have a apa nama ni? Why? Because you know, even in Islam, for those who are Muslims, and as a matter of fact, in other religions also have. But I'm giving you my from Islamic perspective, from Islamic example. We are promoted to take a rest in our ibadah. I'm not sure whether you realize or not, guys. In Salat, we have tamak ninah. What is tamak ninah? To have a pause between one rukun to another rukun. Okay, a pause, like couple of seconds. Okay, so that our jantung tidaklah mendadak Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Itu dah jadi macam apa dah tahu. Okay, so that is a tamak ninah. Now, in reciting Quran, in reciting verses, okay, we have tanda waqaf, tanda berhenti. Kalau tidak baca sampai dah hujung nafas, walak tak boleh dah. Then ada waqaf. If you are performing Hajj, okay, there's a wukuf di padang Arafah. Apa maksud wukuf padang Arafah? To take a rest. And during that time, during the wukuf di Arafah satu malam tu, kan, you buatlah apa-apa. You nak mengaji ke, you nak solat sunat sebanyak mana ke apa benda, buatlah. To berehat. Okay, taking a break. Now, if you puasa, sebuah hadis menyatakan, keseronokan bagi mereka yang berpuasa adalah apabila tibanya waktu berbuka. There's a break tu. Okay, so tell me, you know, in our daily ibadah, we are apa kata, kita disarankan, kita diminta untuk berehat And why can't you take a bit of your moment in life, in your daily life, to take a break? So that's why if a student were to ask me, can I play games? Yeah, go. Okay. But you must be able to set your mind that you are playing games as a form of time out. Jangan nanti time spent for your study is 1 hour, time spent for your games 2 hour. That is because why? Because now in the state of pandemics, we are trying to have this so-called balance between life and work. Okay, so be aware about your surrounding, your friends, get in touch. Okay, sekala buatlah video call, Google Meet, jumpa. You don't have to have a reason sometimes. But most of us always think that, oh, I should have a reason in order for me to. No, you don't have to. You know what? Yesterday, my friends, from Kuantan, having the same situation with me, PJJ, perhubungan jarak jauh, weekend husband kind of things. So she texted me and then asked, any advice about being away, blah, blah. I think, okay. I say, are you free now? Can I give a call? You know, because I'm comfortable enough to give a call rather than texting. Okay, so I just give a call, and then we have a chat. You don't have to be long. I mean, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Because you also want to make sure that you are okay. Okay, and talking about okay, it's okay not to be okay. Right? It's okay not to be okay. I mean, like you are a normal human being. Come on, you're not a robot. Well, then they were asking me whether I'm a robot or not when I registered for the vaccinations. Okay, so yeah, I mean, like this is life. Always remember that once you have all these feelings, emotions, kind of situation, this is where another test come in. That is, how would you be thanks enough, bersyukur dalam keadaan macam ni? That's the difficult part, kan? So how would you be bersyukur enough when you being struck with this kind of situation? Okay. So sorry Liana, but Rukaya is asking me another question about Stephen R. Covey. Yeah, she reads a lot. For information, I don't read. I don't like to read much, especially on the motivational books. Sorry about that thing. But yeah, about Stephen R. Covey. Yeah, 7 habit kind of things. Focus on your circles of influence and not to focus on the circle of concern. I tell you what, Stephen R. Covey can say anything. Okay, and there is no doubt we can take. Even Prophet says that whatever goods from others, take it. Okay, but you have to fit into yourself. That's why orang tua kata apa, ukur baju badan sendiri. I cannot wear Liana's shirt. Not because not because that we don't have the same size of apa nama the measurement, no. But if I want to feel good when I'm wearing it, I should be measuring on myself. Itu orang tu kata lah, I give a direct translation there. But what makes people frustrated during this MCO is because they read all these motivational books and they try to practice it. Now remember, when you read all this motivational book, it is meant for you to have some understanding, but not on the practical side. Because it may be succeed on them, the writers, the authors, but may not be on you. But let me tell you something. Regardless whether you are a Muslim, you're a Buddhist, you are a Christian, go back to your scriptures. Go back to Quran. Because when we were born, we have this manual called a Quran. It's just like when you bought electrical appliances, right? You got the manuals along with it. But do you actually read the manual? And when do you actually read the manual? Have you bought any electrical appliances?
Yeah.
What was it? Give me one example.
Air fryer maybe?
Okay. Do you actually read the manual?
Practically yes, because I want to know how to use it. If like something usual thing like fan or maybe lamp, of course not.
Because you assume that you know how to operate it, right? And then you only go through that manual when something wrong with the device, right?
Yes.
And during that time, do you realize that you lost the manuals, right? You don't know where you put it, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So as for Muslim, we have our manuals, and it is called 1,400 years ago. And as a matter of fact, it's been stated in the Luh Mahfuz, it's been prepared there. That is what we call Al-Quran Karim. Okay, go back. I mean, like for any other religions, go back to your scriptures. Because as a human being, we have our belief system that holds us. You know, there is no scriptures saying, nothing bad. No, in any belief system. Like before you want to sleep, talk to your God. Kalau Muslim tu maksud talk to God tu in the form of prayers. Because amat rugi seorang anak Adam apabila tidur malam harinya tanpa memikirkan dosa-dosa yang dilakukan. Dan amat rugi seorang anak Adam apabila lahir keesokan harinya bangun dengan membawa dosa-dosa semalam. Means that malam dia tidur tak ada apa-apa. Bangun tidur dia fikir, oh semalam aku duduk gaduh dengan Minah ni. Semalam aku duduk buat macam ni. So it ruins the day. So it depends on you what course you use in your life. So when Stephen R. Covey says that, the 7 habits, like focusing on some things, blah blah kind of thing. Well, don't strict yourself to what you read. Okay? And always remember you are the persons of what you read. Okay? So kalau you banyak baca motivasi, you will most likely to be a motivated person. Okay? So if you read kitab, so you'll be the person of the things. Okay? So I'm not sure whether that answers you, Kaya, but I think that, yeah, I do read Stephen R. Covey books. Where did I put that book? I can't remember. Okay, yes, I do read, because at one point it is a job requirement, the 7 habit, but it was too long ago. Okay. Even my wife gave me one quote when I approach her, the best way to predict the future is to create it. So if you want to hold to what Stephen R. Covey said, that is one of the quote stated by Stephen R. Covey. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Okay, don't blame God, because God doesn't say that everything is takdir. No, God says that percaya kepada qadar, trust in qadar and qadar. Qadar is the stage where Allah gives you the moments to options. Qadar is what you opt and what you decided from the options. That is what is meant by qadar and qadar. So in other words means that you decide, because the only way things can change if it's takdir is through dua, through prayer. Okay, so that is the main issue about, the main scenario now during the pandemics. You are not on your own. Don't think that you are on your own, and don't think everything's around you become the burden to you. No, when Allah gives the test, like I say, it comes with a wisdom, hikmah. Okay, you don't have to ask anyone what are the hikmah. Because why? Because hikmah dia datang bila you yang merasai, yang lalui. Sebab hikmah tu may not be present during that time, but in the long run. Okay, wallahu a'lam bisawab.
Okay, so everyone, create the future, while you still have the opportunity. And whatever it is, go back to the basic. Okay, so Dr. I think we have seemed to answer all questions. Is there anything you else want to share before we wrap up?
Okay. Now, nothing much. But I think I've informed everything. But last or not least, I probably want to say about listen to your body. Okay, when you want to gain pleasure, kalau you nak dapatkan sesuatu tu dalam bentuk nikmat, betul-betul nikmat. You eat when you are hungry. You sleep when you are sleepy. Okay. If not, how do you know that you time for you to eat? Is when your body is giving you the signal. Okay. Do not be unjust to yourself. When it's time to eat, you neglect it. You know, because if you do things just because of routine, again, you won't find the satisfaction of makan. Let's say, pukul 1 aku kena makan. And then happens to be that pukul 1 you tak lapar pun. Sama juga macam study. Most people study, because they have to study. Because it's time to study. The principle is study when you are ready to study. I'm better off study the way you study, then you can study. Okay. So listen to your body. When your body is signaling you something, respond to it. I know that most of you guys got a lot of assignments. Yeah, I've been there, I've done that. Okay. And tengah-tengah buat assignments tu ngantuk, menguap-nguap. You still push yourself. Sampailah you habis buat until you finish your assignments ni semua. Then you went to sleep. Okay. So when you went to sleep, you actually tak boleh tidur pun. You berguling-guling lah sejam, 2 jam ni semua. And then bila tak boleh tidur, you play with all the gadgets kind of things. No, you actually train your body to do so. Sampailah seminggu, kalau seminggu berlaku prolong, your pattern akan berubah. And then you simply claims that, having problem with sleep dan semua. Padahal you boleh, awal lagi you dah boleh settlekan benda tu. Okay. So what's wrong kalau kata tengah-tengah buat assignments, menguap, ngantuk, tidur. Because why? Because that is the best moment untuk tidur. So you bangun, you akan fresh. I mean, you can continue doing your assignments later on bila you bangun. Bahkan lagi lega, lagi selesa, lagi seronok because badan you fresh untuk buat. Okay, because why? Because your body has telling you now, if you don't give the rights to your body when it asks, your body start rebel. Sebab tu dah saya kata penyakit macam migraine ke, even kencing manis ke apa benda, it's most likely gastric ke apa benda, it's most likely that we are being unjust to ourselves. We don't give while masa dia memberi. Dan masa dia meminta tu kita tak bagi. Okay? So sometimes it's not about what people's achievement, but what is your achievement. And what is achievement? Small things. Benda kecil pun is an achievement. Reward yourself. Learn to reward yourself. Belajar menghargai diri. Bukannya tunggu orang hargai. Sebab kita akan frust apabila kita menanti datangnya daripada orang. Okay. So that's why bila kata pada diri sendiri, then obviously dia akan terkait pada you punya creator, you punya belief system. Okay. Sebab kita akan seringkali kecewa dengan orang. Okay. So again, like I say, there are times you need to be selfish, but you have to know when to become selfish. Okay. Not all the times that you have to be you have to be a pleaser. Not all the time. Kalau pada ketika tu you ada sesuatu yang lebih penting, you prioritize benda tu, go for it without having a second thought. Tapi kalau you dah prioritize sesuatu, lepas tu you reconsider, lepas tu you akan marah balik pada diri sendiri, kan? What's the point? Because at the end of the day, you don't have anyone except yourself. Tapi kalau you sendiri dah menekan diri sendiri, takut nanti satu ketika badan itu akan memberontak. Nothing much that you have. Okay? Dia akan memberontak dengan cara adanya penyakit, sakit sana, sakit sini. Okay? So, insyaAllah, If you do have anything outside this you can always find me in social media, inshallah. Allahu alam sawab. Thank you so much again to GSA for giving me the opportunity to meet you guys. Kalau ikutkan 320 orang, I know some of you guys having classes kind of things, and I hope it really benefits. I really put it into a very layman understanding, pemahaman, so that it won't be that too jargon. Okay, and again, I'm not a clinical psychologist. Basically it's from experiences, and keep on reading, and make sure you don't accept things 100%, but Allah gave you the 4 elements that you can use in assessing your worth. That is your al-aqal, al-qab, ar-ruh, an-nafs. 4 element ini. So use it wisely, because God gave you, when you have been bestowed in this world, actually you have all the equipments, you have all the tools, you have all the weapons for you to protect yourself, and for you, when God created Saddam, says that I have created everything for you. Use it wisely. Pandai-pandai lah kamu guna apa benda. Means that if you can't reach out, reach in. Okay? If you can't reach out, reach in within you. Because sometimes, most of the time, you may find the answer there. Wallahu alam sawab. Thank you so much again. Okay?
All right. Thank you so much for this meaningful session, Dr. Zul. Remember, people, accept yourself and also adapting yourself to your situation accordingly. And yeah, we denied our bodies, right? That's one perception we gotta change, okay? So I believe what Dr. Zulfikar shared with us will be beneficial for our present and future. It was a pleasure to have you here, Doctor. Okay, guys. Now I would like to have a photo session. So everyone, I would like everyone to